Let the word go forth.
Fool me once.
Are you fired up?
I'm not a crook.
Are you ready to go?
Shame on you.
It's Abe Lincoln's Top Hat, hosted by Ben Kissel.
Fool me, can't get fooled again.
All right, welcome to the show, everyone. I am Ben Kissel. That's Marcus Parks.
Hello.
Oh, my goodness. Right back here in America, huh?
Oh.
We had a great time in Montreal for the Just for Laughs festival, and everyone, it was just for laughs.
That's all it was for. Even when I almost got a concussion hitting my head on a television set, it was still just for laughs.
That was just for laughs.
That was just for laughs.
All right, so we got a lot to get to. We'll start with the health care bill that failed to pass, and I want to say, number one, well, first of all, thanks to everyone who came out to our shows in Montreal.
Of course.
Wonderful. Great to meet you all. When it comes to the health care bill, my goodness, were people absolutely insane on social media. They were totally flippant. They didn't understand the process. John McCain, a man who has brain cancer now, went in and voted to allow the vote to allow debate to occur to potentially have a vote. Mm-hmm. And everyone on social media was like, he has brain cancer, but I hope he dies faster than the brain cancer can kill him. Oh, yeah. He deserves brain cancer. All of these horrible things because they didn't understand that all he was doing was voting on the right to debate to vote, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
That should have been a unanimous decision because obviously John McCain voted against the actual bill. But in order to vote against the bill, you have to vote for the bill. It's a clunky, stupid process. But please do a little bit of research before you go and make death threats towards an American hero. Regardless of politics, just be a human being first, and especially get the information right if you are going to demonize someone to the point that they demonized the senators who voted to vote again, to debate, to vote.
Yeah, and I admit, John McCain, he's definitely maverick in name only until, of course, this big no vote. He votes.
Awesome.
He votes along the party lines almost 100% of the time.
Yep.
He talks a big game, but he definitely did not deserve death threats. He definitely did not, and he didn't deserve to have the blood of 22 million children placed at his, dumped on his fucking head.
And you can imagine how much that's disgusting.
That's a lot of kids' blood.
That's a lot of children's blood.
Yeah, that's many children's blood. But yeah, everyone was like talking about how McCain is the biggest mass murderer since Chairman Mao, and they just didn't understand how the process worked in the least bit. And very smart people too, like people that I was very disappointed.
I unfollowed a lot of people.
Yeah, to see it, very smart people that I was very disappointed to see them kind of fall for the retweet. And I think that's all it is. It's like a retweet mentality where they see one person saying that McCain is an awful person. Yep. They say that like, oh yes, he should get brain cancer. McCain voted against the interests of millions of Americans, and then they just go from there. And
lemurs off a cliff.
God, it really is.
There was a very funny video. John McCain walking in to the Senate floor with the sound music, with the opening music, the entrance music of Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was so awesome.
Mitch McConnell there, like crossing his arms,
so
giving him he's just such a sourpuss.
I love it because that's the high drama, And when he gives the thumb down, there's something very like Pontius Pilate about it. There's something very Roman about the thumbs down way to vote.
I love a thumbs down. If you really want to make someone feel bad, don't flip him off. Give him a big thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down, buddy.
That's what Chris Christie. That's what that dude who Chris Christie yelled at the Cubs game should have done. Yeah. If you didn't have a chance to see Chris Christie screaming at someone who was heckling him because he is the worst governor in modern history, sitting at around 15% approval ratings. Worse than, almost as bad as Rod Blagojevich, who was in prison.
Yeah.
So Chris Christie screamed at this fan. But before he screamed at the fan, he didn't have the wherewithal to put his nachos down.
Such a huge pile of nachos in that man's hands.
He's so poly. He is so roly. And every photo op with him is just like, big dude on a beach while no one else is around, or screaming at someone while holding nachos. He has ran out of fucks to give, and you can tell. But he's still the governor, and he should probably be focused on his job. Stop screaming at possible constituents. He wants to instead just be eating his nachos.
Mm-hmm. He did have a pretty good comeback, though. Why don't you have another beer?
As he slams down enough carbs and fat to kill us a school bus full of children.
Yeah,
What a
and
guy.
he gave him like just the classic Jersey thing, like, "Oh, you're a tough guy, huh? Oh, you're a tough guy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, great. Give it to me. Come at me."
Meanwhile, there's Secret Service around. The guy can't really, do anything to Mr. Chris Christie. But yeah, back to the health care bill. So John McCain did end up voting against it. The only way it was able to even get to this point is Vice President Mike Pence had to cast his fourth tie-breaking vote in the Senate. That is quite a bit, considering we're only 6 months in. Herbert Walker Bush only had to make a tie-breaking vote as vice president 7 times, Cheney 8 times. Of course, these were 8-year reigns as vice president, and of course now Mike Pence has already had to do it 4 times, and that just shows you the gridlock, as General Stockdale would say, that's happening right now in Congress. Of course, Joe Biden, 0 tie-breaking votes in the Senate. So it is a lot. Mike Pence is a very active vice president, more active than vice presidents in recent history, although now that I say that, I immediately think about Dick Cheney in the first term of W, a very influential vice president. By the second term, he had sort of worn out his welcome, and he didn't have quite as much say in policy creation. But Mike Pence is, without a doubt, transforming the role of vice president and really making it a significant office, specifically given the turbulence in Trump's White House and the inexperience of Donald Trump as president. So in some ways, Mike Pence has been a great stabilizing factor. Of course, I have no love lost for the man. I think he was an atrocious governor of Indiana, social conservative, and has done some awful things when it comes to policy. But when it comes to structure, he understands government.
You know how many hours they've spent since 2011 trying to get Obamacare repealed, the Republicans?
How many?
377.6 hours. They have spent 16 solid 24-hour days trying to get Obamacare repealed since 2011.
And they wonder why they're sitting at 9% approval ratings. I mean, this is exactly why. Donald Trump is doing much better than Congress as a whole.
Not that much better.
Not that much better.
Even his pet Rasmussen poll, the one that he's always called the most accurate one, Rasmussen has him at a 61% disapproval rating.
Oh, his disapproval ratings are absolutely huge. Yeah, that's right. The polls from last week had him around 40% approval rating, which for a president 6 months in is like shockingly low. Usually a president, we talked about this on the last episode, that's second term fatigue, 1 year left, lame duck approval rating status.
Yeah.
And he already has it within 6 months because everything he's done has been so outside the norm, and Americans are just, at the end of the day, really getting stressed out. Yeah. They are so sick of waking up in the morning and hearing new policies put forward via Twitter coming from Donald Trump, and it is becoming, and we joked about this before on the show, I think it's going to lead to a heart condition for people years down the line. Be like, did you live under President Trump? You've got the Trump heart condition that we've seen. It's sort of like it's a ring of fat and stress around your major arteries. So he took 13 years off your life.
Well, that's what people don't realize about, you say him putting forth new policies through Twitter, the whole transgender military ban.
Oh, my goodness, we have to get into that.
That's not law.
No.
Just him saying shit on Twitter doesn't make it law. It does not make it policy. That's just him saying shit.
It is absolutely insane. And what happened with that, just to close out the health care bill. So right now it's not going to go forward. Mitch McConnell is extremely upset. I don't see a path forward for the bill. You still have Susan Collins out of Maine. You have Murkowski out of Alaska. Both of them voted not to debate the vote. They kind of nipped it in the bud there. Again, I think they should be debating. But then, of course, you also have Ron Johnson. You have that entire Freedom Caucus in the Republican Party, probably the most influential senators, that 20 people. They kind of hold the entire party hostage. And the Republican Party tends to go with the more conservative-leaning members of their caucus. And the Murkowskis and Collinses of the world, the moderates of the world, usually go along with them. In this case, they'll have to go along with them if the Republicans have any chance of passing this. But at the end of the day, it does not do nearly enough for the members of the Freedom Caucus to actually repeal Obamacare. Let's go through some of the numbers, and then we can get into the trans bill. So this is just some of the numbers when it comes to the vote in the Senate. for healthcare.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really do us any good to go through the Democrat votes because those
It's
are
none.
all. It's none. It's zero.
With great prejudice, no.
With repeal and replace, 9 Republicans voted no. Partial repeal, 7 voted no. And skinny repeal, 3 voted no. That would be Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and John McCain that all voted no on that.
So do we know what this skinny repeal thing is?
Skinny repeal was, skinny.
It's just skin.
It was a skin. I mean, I couldn't.
think it would do less gutting of Medicaid and Medicare and things like that. The issues that, of course, the constituents in Maine and Alaska and all across this country it's very significant to those working class individuals who support the Republican Party and many of them who supported Donald Trump.
Well, it's the skinny repeal. They called it the Healthcare Freedom Act.
It's always fun.
It's always fun.
Who would be against the Healthcare Freedom Act?
I mean, come on, man. I love freedom so fucking much. It makes my fucking dick hard.
Wow. Healthcare Freedom Act? Who could go against that?
Well, that would have repealed the mandates that most individuals have health insurance and that large employers cover their employees, among other provisions. But those are the 2 big ones. That know, because it was that whole thing. What was it? Anybody over 35 employees has to provide health insurance for their employees.
Yeah, I believe it was 40. I think it was like 50 or 49. Anyone over
Somewhere
49.
around.
And I do understand. As a matter of fact, the economy is doing okay. Our GDP it's about 2.2. I think right now it's doing better than it was. A lot of people, of course, do credit Barack Obama for that, but Donald Trump certainly should be taking the credit. The president always gets to take the credit. Of course, he steps in his own way every single time there's any possible ability for a good news story. He's like, let's squash it. And we don't want good news around here.
I mean, there actually has been a couple of opportunities for him to put forth some good economic news, some things that he has done that have been positive for the economy. But every single time, he's just stepping all over his own dick and tripping and falling on his own face.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's what happened with healthcare. Again, I don't see the path forward with the bill as it is. Maybe they can get it together. It is just hilarious to me that Paul Ryan, he just promised for 8 years or 7 years under Barack Obama that he had the best health care bill in the history of health care bills. No one can see it. It's under lock and key. It's a McCarthy tactic. Just leave the briefcase closed and let them know but just tell people there's very significant documents in there. And of course, as we learned with McCarthy, it's nothing but vodka and nudie magazines and maybe a couple of loose cigarettes.
I mean, I don't see why he had to keep the bill secret for so long.
Because it was nonsense.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't see the rationale. I don't see the actual rationale. I mean, we all know why he kept it, but I don't see the rationale that they could possibly put forward. I mean, it's like, were they afraid that the Democrats were going to steal their ideas? Were they? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Nothing about it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely does not make sense, and this is a massive blow to the Trump administration, although they are looking okay when it comes to tax reform. Donald Trump coming out, and this is something that Donald Trump should have started with, tax reform, bipartisan tax reform. He did talk about taxing the wealthy, giving tax breaks to the middle class. I was on Kennedy on Fox Business. She hated the idea of Donald Trump's health care bill, or of Donald Trump's tax reform, so it's probably a good idea. If the hardcore libertarians are like against it because it taxes the wealthy too much, it might not be the worst idea. Of course, Donald Trump was talking about having a meeting with his good friend Bob Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, and he said, Bob told me he can pay more. He can pay more.
Wasn't Bob Kraft the guy that Vladimir Putin stole the ring from?
Oh, yeah, he still got it. He still got it.
He stole his Super Bowl ring and never gave it back?
Never. Putin's, I mean... It's
all coming together.
It's all coming together.
I mean, that's the final connection right there.
Putin asked to see Bob Kraft's Super Bowl ring. He showed it to him, and then he just put it in his pocket, and then he walked away. And then Bob Kraft was like, okay.
That's not a rumor. That happened.
That totally happened. Putin is also closing down multiple U.S. embassies in Russia. 755 U.S. diplomats will be leaving the country. Which is sort of a retaliation to some of the things that are going on as far as sanctions and Russia. So Putin is, flexing some muscle in Russia, and at this point, Donald Trump hasn't even commented on that. It's certainly a retaliation of the two embassies in New York and in Massachusetts, the one in New York and the one in Massachusetts being closed by Barack Obama in December of 2016 after we found out about the Russian collusion. That was 35 diplomats that were escorted escorted out of the country. Many of them, of course, were most likely individuals who were spying for the Russian government. That's just how it works.
Yeah. I mean, and don't kid yourself, people. I mean, even though like we can sit here and laugh about the mooch, which we will get to.
Oh, we got to get to the Scaramouche.
We got to get to the Scaramouche.
I lost my job in Taco Bell in 11 days. So I actually beat the mooch. I believe it lasted 10.
Well, I mean, there are some serious things going on with Russia. There are some very serious things going on with North Korea.
Absolutely. North Korea just launched an ICBM into the Sea of Japan. Very hostile actions happening right now. They're very braggadocious. The Russians, as a matter of fact, just had, after 100 years, they haven't done this in 100 years, they did a celebration of their naval fleets, which was without a doubt saber rattling, a lot of rally around the flag. The Russians are very good at military theater, as we saw during the Cold War when they would fly the same planes over and over and over again, and the U.S. was like, they have to have millions and millions of planes, but they had like 8.
Yeah.
Of course, those are exaggerated numbers on both sides, but the military... They understand military theater better than anyone else.
Yes, they absolutely do.
So, yes, and a lot of things happened. I thought you were going to talk there, but then I just took a sip of water.
I had nothing to add.
Okay, that's fine. It's all good. So let's go on. Yeah, that's... The things that are happening right now in the world are very serious.
Yes.
And that is one of the things that has a lot of people unnerved. A lot of people are scared of the Trump presidency, the Trump White House, the destabilized situation that's happening both internally in Washington and externally all over the globe. Really does have people stressed, in fear for the future of this country. And I understand that. These are big issues. These are real issues. And despite the juvenile nature of American politics right now, it's still an adult world.
Yeah.
And so I get the stress that's coming from both sides of the political aisle. If you're a Republican, in a lot of ways, you want to be rational. You are completely aghast with what you see coming out of the White House. Your arms are tied. And if you're a Democrat, you just feel as if that party has done such a horrible job of courting people in the middle of this country. You got to start from the ground up and rebuild this entire party. Both parties have massive, massive amounts of work to do, and they're facing all of this work under the umbrella of massive foreign affair issues that are happening and really serious military saber rattling going on all over the world. Not to mention what's happening with immigration, and we're going to get into that because this plays into the transgender situation that happened via Twitter. So Donald Trump tweeted this past Tuesday, and keep in mind, Donald Trump promised to be the most pro-LGBTQ candidate and president in modern U.S. history. Of course, Caitlyn Jenner, I don't even like to reference her, but she was a big proponent of Donald Trump. And now we see where his true colors lie. On Twitter on Tuesday morning, Donald Trump tweeted, "Our military must be focused on decisive and overwhelming victory and cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical costs and disruption that transgender in the military would entail," which is a complete and utter lie. The U.S. military gets $600 billion a year. They spend roughly $8 million a year. If every of these 8,000 people who are transgender in the military right now chose to get the gender reassignment surgery, it would cost roughly $8 million. They have the money. Viagra, I believe the Viagra costs are something like I think they're in the 80s. The military spends $41.6 million annually on Viagra alone, and that's not even counting Cialis. So this idea that
wait a second, say that one more time. I think that really
$41.6 million annually on Viagra. That's what the military spends on Viagra. $41.6 million.
$41.6 million spent on Viagra to do the gender reassignment surgery for every transgender member who at least comes out and says they're in the military would cost $8 million. And President Trump is saying that we cannot afford that.
Yes. So by contrast, total military spending on erectile dysfunction medicines amounts to $84 million, 10 times the cost of annual transition-related medical care for active duty transgender service members. So he just picked a minority group within the military, chose to use them as a wedge issue, completely throw them under the bus. Another, not to be too cliche, but the poem, when they came for blank, I said nothing. It is like, how many groups does he have to alienate? How many people does he have to make feel less American or not wanted in America before he has zero coalition whatsoever. His coalition is already extremely small. The only people that seem to be hardening their support for Donald Trump are bigots and morons.
Yeah. Well, this is revenge.
This is revenge. Well,
that's all this was. This is.
It goes back to the budget spending bill, which didn't pass anyway. But the Republicans, again, going back to the Freedom Caucus, they wanted this anti-transgender policy in there. And if Trump did not give them that, he would not get the I believe it was $1.6 billion to begin building the border wall. A useless wall. The majority of drugs and immigrants coming into our country come from the ports. So it doesn't even matter. It's a totally moot, ridiculously stupid idea. But that just shows you this racist, stupid policy, this border wall, now has a even more nefarious legacy when it comes to transgender individuals. So Trump wanted that border wall funding so badly, he was just willing to throw out 8,000 members, active members of the U.S. military who put their lives on the line on a daily basis for us. He just threw them under the bus so he could fund a ridiculously stupid border wall that without a doubt the next administration, even if they're Republican, are going to take down.
Well, if it even gets built if it even gets built to begin with. I mean, they're definitely. I mean, this stupid fucking border wall. Like, do you honestly think like as slow as the wheels of government turn, something that huge, a public works project that huge, do you think it's going to get done? Even if he lasts all 8 years, it's not going to get done in that time, and he will not last 8 years.
Every ounce, every pound, every bit of that steel and cement poured in to make that border wall should be used for infrastructure.
Yeah,
that should be used for bridges, for buildings. I mean, we drive all across this country now. We've seen a lot of America, and it is a lot of places. You're like, forget a border wall. Get them a highway.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's so much need in this country right now, and the money is all there. We just allocate these funds like such jackasses. Our government does such a disservice when it comes to using our tax dollars in a relevant, positive way for the American people. That's why, again, their approval rating is 10%, 9% on a good day.
Yeah, I mean, we could use this money to get more. We could give this money as grants to kids to go to college so they don't have to be in debt. I mean, I know we already spend. I think we spend the most money per student on education, right?
We spend around $100,000. We spend more money per student than any other country on earth, and our education is failing us miserably. Well, because of standardized testing, Common Core, those sorts of things.
Of course,
that are just taking power away from teachers.
Yeah, but that stupid border wall that could be used. Dumb. That it could be used to send so many kids to college tuition free.
Right.
I mean, it could be used to take down medical costs. It could be used for so many things that could actually help Americans in very tangible, very real ways. People that support this border wall, your lives could be made so much better in so many other different ways. That money could be allocated in so many ways to make your life personally better. And this border wall, when it goes up, is not going to make your life one iota better.
No, and the people who live on the border don't want this. They don't want this wall because they have to live there, and they don't want to feel imprisoned, almost like Palestinians in a strange way, imprisoned in their own country. They're just going to be looking out at a huge wall. I mean, it is counterproductive. Completely not necessary, will not solve the problem it's attempting to solve, and is going to do nothing but project horrible U.S. policies and let everyone know exactly what we think about immigrants. And Donald Trump's recent speech that he gave to the police in, I believe it was Long Island, was one of the most vile speeches I've ever heard in my life. These police, the applause lines were so awful. They applauded and shouted. You would have thought it was a World Cup match when Donald Trump was talking about roughing up prisoners, when he was talking about the MS-13 gang. The MS-13 gang, first of all, there's already laws in place. You can't be a member of a gang. You can't have weapons charges. You can't sell illegal drugs. There's already rules. So this whole idea that we haven't been tough enough on crime is a total lie, complete and utter misnomer, and the cops that were cheering Donald Trump should lose their badges because it proved that they don't have the mental capacity to actually be non-prejudicial officers of the law.
Yeah.
I mean, did you listen to that speech?
I did.
I mean, I was like, what the hell is... These are the people who police Manhattan, who police Brooklyn, the Bronx. Those are our cops. And the things that they were cheering for when Donald Trump was saying them, it was like asinine. It was like watching a dystopian history movie. It was like, how did anyone ever let this happen? And we're living in it in real time.
I mean, even by Donald Trump's own words, as concerning the border wall, it's not even going to stop catapults.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It only goes 5 feet down. And we talked about this on the show.
I mean, I wasn't saying that seriously.
It wouldn't stop catapults. It wouldn't stop anything. It's not going to work.
They're not using catapults. They're fucking
they're
throw
just
drugs
climb
over the.
No, I mean, it is totally useless. And Kate's law is the same way. It sounds really good in theory. We're just going to be sentencing these people to harsh prison sentences, and then when they're done with 25,000, when they're done with 25 years, costing the U.S. taxpayer an average of $22,000 per inmate, we're just going to deport them, which is going to be another stress on the American taxpayer. Also, they can have their prison industrial complex. Also, they can have slavery under the guise of criminal justice. And it is absolutely obvious and pathetic. And we should get into the Jeff Sessions thing. We have so much to talk about. Oh, my goodness. But anyway, just going back to the trans issue one more time. The upper estimate for annual transgender medical costs in the military amounts to less than 1/10 of the price of a new F-35 fighter jet, or 0.001% of the Defense Department's annual budget. So
0.001%.
It's totally inconsequential, and obviously just Donald Trump turning his back on a group of people that some wanted to really believe him.
Oh, he just wanted to hurt liberals in some way. He wanted to feel good.
Well, now he's getting butthurt, isn't he?
He wanted to feel good about himself because he had been defeated. He needed something to boost his ego a little bit. He needed to punch back, and that was the best way that he could. That was in his mind the best way that he could possibly do it.
He is such a child and doesn't understand leadership. So this is him, like you just said, this is him taking his vengeance on the lack of support he gets from the LGBTQ community.
Not just LGBT, just liberals in general. He's like, what do liberals love? What's a liberal issue here? Transgender. What can I do about that? Well, let's kick him out of the military.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Even though it's not any sort of policy at all. It's a tweet.
It is, yeah.
It is a tweet.
And that is very true. This is not enacted as policy. This is simply...
And it won't be enacted as policy.
It's so awful. Anyway, so our hearts always are with the trans individuals all across this country and all across the world, especially, when they see bigoted things like this coming from the most powerful office, some say in the world, at the very least in the country, and I believe in the world. It's just what a slap in the face. Can you imagine serving in the U.S. military? We should get off this, but just serving in the U.S. military every single day, going through basic training. I did Fox News Radio, and a lot of calls in from military people. And one of the concerns, many of the military people are like, it does not matter. When you're on the front lines fighting, you don't think about the genitalia of the person you're fighting against. But then there was some people saying, can they pass the tests? All these sorts of things. And it's like, if they are working with the same set of standards as people who are non-transgender. If they can pass all of the physical requirements, they should be allowed to serve in the United States military to protect Americans. And specifically what happened in the late 90s when they ended up kicking out some gay individuals. A lot of those people were the translators that knew how to speak, the native tongue of many of the Middle Eastern countries that we are constantly attempting to invade. And so that they could have prevented, theoretically, another 9/11. I just, when you just get rid of the orientation, get rid of, whatever it might be, these are soldiers, these are people who want to help out America, and for them to be treated this way by the president, the man who is supposed to be in charge, the commander-in-chief of the military, is absolutely abhorrent, completely beyond the pale, and one of the more saddening moments of this past 6 months.
Of course, and really the influence of the presidency, it is falling. It is falling every single day. I mean, there's already every other country in the world are already they're not looking to us anymore. They don't want to deal with this. They're looking for other alliances. Totally. They're looking for other partnerships. They don't want anything to do with this, and I don't fucking blame them. I mean, I wouldn't want, if I were to do business with somebody else and I saw a person like Donald Trump sitting across the table from me, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to find something else. I'm going to find somebody else, because this is it is insane.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
So let's get into some shakeups. I mean, there are, again, the economy is doing okay. There was a big Foxconn deal in Wisconsin, totally overshadowed because of these tweets and things like that. And then, of course, what's happening within the White House with the shakeups. When it comes to Donald Trump and NATO countries are paying 4.7% more, so they have gotten some money from the nations who were paying less than 2% of their GDP into NATO. They're supposed to pay 2%. We pay roughly 3.3%. So that was kind of a mild victory for Donald Trump in a way. Trying to find some of the positive things, but you can't even find them because you got to get through like a Truffelhaug. You got to get through so much dirt and crap to find anything that is mildly good about this administration. But let's go into the shakeups that occurred over this past week. My God. So it starts with Sean Spicer. He is out as communications director. He technically is still employed there for, I believe, until August 15th. They brought in Anthony Scaramucci. Anthony Scaramucci was, what do you describe this guy as? He's almost like a Sex and the City character.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just like so over the top New York.
The Mooch.
He calls himself the Mooch.
I wouldn't say he's New. He's Long Island. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that guy's Long Island.
So he comes in. Reince Priebus is immediately out as chief of staff. Priebus and Scaramucci, they don't like each other. And Scaramucci, for a brief moment, got the victory over Reince Priebus, got him out as chief of staff. Former Homeland Security Chief General John Kelly, now filled that position. Then we have the situation happening with Jeff Sessions, of course, the sitting Attorney General. This is an area where I agree with Donald Trump, even though we disagree. I disagree with the reasons he doesn't like Jeff Sessions, but I hate Jeff Sessions. Mm-hmm. So I like that Trump hates Jeff Sessions, although for two completely different reasons. He's in the hot seat when it comes to being Attorney General. Really insane what Donald Trump has tweeted about him. There is some rumors out there that Jeff Sessions might go fill the Department of Homeland Security position, in which Lindsey Graham, of course, the senator of South Carolina, has said that would be the end of the Trump administration and the Trump presidency. But we've heard it's going to be the end of Trump something or another for the past 2 years. So who the hell knows?
Yeah, who knows? And then, of course, Scaramucci, the reason why he is now out. The amazing thing.
I love this interview so much.
This is how fast things happen
so
now.
Fast.
We didn't even get one episode with the Mooch.
We had to go to Montreal just for laughs. We had to go just for laughs. And we missed the world changed.
He was in and he was out between two episodes that we had to record. Scaramucci called up, it was a reporter from the New Yorker, correct?
It was Chris Eliza.
Yeah, it was a reporter, and he just starts going off about Reince Priebus.
Yeah.
He starts going off just about everything because he was saying that Reince Priebus is the leaker. He's spreading the rumor that Priebus is the leaker, and he said, Reince is a fucking paranoid schizophrenic, a paranoiac. And then he channeled Priebus saying like, oh, Bill Shine's coming in, let me leak the fucking thing and see if I can cockblock those people the way I cockblocked Scaramucci for 6 months. And then he goes on to say, I'm not Steve Bannon. I'm not trying to suck my own cock.
But you do get a feeling Steve Bannon tries to do that on a regular basis.
Oh, we've all tried at some point, but Steve Bannon's trying way past the point when you should be giving up.
So that conversation apparently peeved off President Trump, although he has no leg to stand on.
I guarantee you it didn't peeve him off. I guarantee you the only
he didn't
reason
even tweet about that.
I guarantee the only reason why Scaramucci is out is because Kelly. I think the only reason why Kelly came in, he's like, if I come in, I am not having that fucking dickhead Scaramucci working for me. He has to leave. That's the only way I'm going to do it. Because it is the one. Is it chief of staff of the Trump White House? I think is the worst possible job in Washington right now.
Well, Reince really did think that he was going to be able to sort of rein in the president and try to train him a little bit more how to be presidential. And I think he quickly found out that when you try to do that, when you go against the president, you're just kind of thrown to the wayside the exact same way that Sean Spicer was thrown to the wayside. For example, being a very Catholic man, Mr. Spicer, President Trump not letting him meet the Pope. Mm-hmm. Just those little things where he just sends these very clear messages that I'm no longer supporting you. When it comes to Jeff Sessions, the exact same thing with the Twitter storms raging against Jeff Sessions and the disgusting excuse that Scaramucci gave in his short time as a Trump administration official, talking about how it was basically Donald Trump talking to Jeff Sessions because Jeff Sessions follows him on Twitter, but Jeff Sessions doesn't follow him on Twitter. And Jeff Sessions' last tweet was 2014.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff is just total nonsense and complete and utter lies.
Yeah, and Scaramucci coming back and instead of apologizing and saying, like, I really shouldn't have spoke that way, but a fellow White House staff member, he said, well, I'm never going to trust a reporter again.
Yeah,
and
it's the reporter's fault that he recorded you and told him that you were going to be on the record. Like, good, tell me when to go.
So in other words, Scaramucci, the communications director, doesn't understand communications. He doesn't understand how reporting works. I don't think he understands what on the record means.
No.
And this is what's amazing about this guy. In the 10 days that he was White House communications director, he sold his company.
Yep.
He divorced his wife.
This is actually very sad.
He
missed his son. Yeah.
Missed the birth of his son. And it's not sad for Scaramucci. It's sad for his fucking son. And it's sad for his fucking wife.
Well, he's a human. I would assume that's gotta hurt. Nothing I would ever do would make me miss.
No, I don't care about Scaramucci. I don't care about his humanity.
It's sad, though.
Like, he chose to do that. He didn't have to do that. He absolutely chose to not be present for the birth of his son.
Yeah, I know. That is the sad human side of all of this. There are families involved, and this stuff is very real. And naturally, he and his wife are not doing too well at this point. But we only wish them the best, I guess. I don't know. There's some rumors about affairs going around, but I cannot be leaking those here on this show. But I'll talk to you off air about that. So what an insane week. What an insane couple of days here. The one thing Scaramucci was able to do, this is actually a good thing, try to point out some positives. He did get the cameras back in the White House press room, which is something that no communications director should even have to do, because how are there cameras ever out of the White House press room? But that is, so he did get cameras back in there, so now we can all listen and see Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and I'm not going to make any jokes. So there we go. I'm going to be better than that. I'm going to go high.
The one thing that worries me about Kelly is that I'm worried that Kelly could be the one to whip everyone into shape.
That's the goal.
I'm really worried that Kelly is going to be the one to get the White House to get their shit together.
Well, that is the goal, and that's he's going to bring that military style, which is something that Donald Trump always talks about. He loves the military. He loves the military style, but then he is the most
undisciplined.
Yeah, exactly. Undisciplined president we've ever had. He likes these things in a very movie sense. He doesn't have it like the real world. Military style is buttoned up and like you don't get out of line.
It's boring as shit.
It's very boring.
Yeah.
That's why I never got into the military. Also, I felt like I was too tall, and the push-ups.
Comey.
Comey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was FBI.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess he was a cop at one point.
Yeah, well, he's thinner than I am, and he can do push-ups and stuff like that. I'm not kind of like that. A couple of things about General John Kelly. This is a big appointment for the Trump White House. So many crazy things happening. And at some point, they do have to stop these leaks. They have to get this White House under control because for the time being, this is the United States government. So I do want some structure. Hopefully General John Kelly can bring that. He's a 4-star general. John Kelly needs to start strong if he wants to create order in the White House as chief of staff, which is sort of what he's doing, sending the message, get Scaramucci out of here. We'll see what happens with all that. Kelly should learn from Reince Priebus's mistakes. Priebus's mistakes were just trying to rein in the president. And perhaps Reince, who was a very close friend with Paul Ryan, of course, the Speaker of the House. They are like best friends. So you wonder, is this a little revenge for Paul Ryan not being able to get health care passed as well? That's the way Donald Trump sees things.
Yeah.
It's always his vision of winning is someone else losing.
Yeah.
And there is no how do the American people benefit from any of this? Kelly needs to get a process in place, demand every staffer follow it, and have the president's backing. And if Trump refuses to back him, Kelly should resign immediately. This is according to Sarah Fagan in the CNBC. And I agree with those. Those are 4 things he has to do. But there is not a when. It's only a matter of when. When is General Kelly going to say something or do something that Donald Trump doesn't like, such as Jeff Sessions recusing himself from the Russian scandal? When is it going to happen? It's only a matter of time because Donald Trump is a man baby and he refuses to have anyone with a different opinion than him in his administration. And of course, at some point, it's going to happen.
No, of course, because what's going to happen is Kelly is going to say one thing. Trump's going to come out on Twitter and say the exact opposite,
Right.
and Kelly's going to have to go back. Kelly's going to have to go against him. That's what happens with every single one of these people.
Right. So we have a different. We've had now 2 communications directors, 2 chief of staffs, multiple press secretaries. Who knows what's going to happen with Jeff Sessions as AG? It seems like it's inevitable he has to leave.
2 FBI directors.
2 FBI directors. This idea that Donald Trump wants to get an AG in there that would then help him fire Special Counsel Robert Mueller is insane, which it seems like that's what he wants to do. So that's why I'm saying it looks like, given the tweets and given just the obvious disdain that the Trump administration has now for Jeff Sessions, seems like it's just an unattainable or untenable situation. How do you be the attorney general and have the president actively going against everything that you're doing? And again, get Jeff Sessions out of there. What he's done when it comes to criminal justice is horrible. Already in 6 months, or how long he's been there for about 4 months or so. He is the awful attorney general, passing extremely significant criminal justice policies that are going to lead to continued massive rates of incarceration, real life stuff, telling prosecutors to go for the harshest sentences in drug offenses, things like that. That's real life stuff for people and families all across this country. And if you are a social conservative, the family unit is being destroyed by our criminal justice system. So if you want, I don't even care. Let's just say you do want a man and a wife. That's a family. A husband and a wife. Okay, well, they're getting ripped apart on a daily basis from our predatory policing practices, from our horrible immigration policies that are being put in place. And Jeff Sessions is the major proponent of all that is wrong with the United States criminal justice system. Of course, invested in GO Group, Core Civic, private prisons, which make up 12% of the nation's prison system, and house the vast majority of undocumented people. So Jeff Sessions looks like he's going to be gone. This is 6 months in.
6 months in. And, and if you are a Trump supporter out there, just really take heart that Donald Trump has been golfing 8 times in just the month of July.
His travel budget, it's looking like it's going to be more than Barack Obama's was in 8 years.
Was it 28 million
it's
so
insane.
far?
It is
28. It's in the double digits, above 20 million, without a doubt. Yes, he has gone golfing 8 times.
So even more than that, I think
8 times in July alone.
Oh, in July, yeah. I was gonna say, because he's definitely gone more than 8 times.
Well, no.
He loves it.
Yeah, he is either, and he has also hit up one of his personal businesses on every single weekday. Yeah. So he absolutely is. He's checked out. And he's going to continue to be checked out. He doesn't give a fuck about you. I'm just going to keep saying it. He does not give a fuck about you. He does not give a fuck about this country. He gives a fuck about himself, and that is it. And that's polls, all it ever will be.
Polls are reflecting, that he is out of touch. He is less than, I believe, it was somewhere in the 60s as well in a couple of polls last week when the question was, do you feel like the president has your best interest in mind or represents you? He's losing a lot of that support that he had. There are some good job report news, but it is just all getting so overwhelmed by so much of the bad stuff. A few good things with jobs, that is good. Let's give some credit there.
Sure.
And then everything else. So it's just really difficult.
The furious incompetence.
And, the immigrant situation, it's affecting a lot of the farmers who voted for Donald Trump. They can't find a workforce anymore. Not a lot of Americans want to go pick strawberries for $2.50 an hour. It's just not happening. And so the entire economic, he's destabilizing the entire economic groundwork of our entire country, which at the end of the day is predicated on cheap labor. And so there's a lot of those farmers who are looking at a field full of produce that no one's picking, and they're wondering what the hell happened and who the hell they vote for. Because the immigrants in this country, and we've said it before, 34,000 people killed in Mexico 2016. Only worst country is Syria with 50,000. The vast majority coming over here are refugees. And there are a couple, of course, there's a couple of horrible people coming over here, joining gangs, but it's already illegal.
Yeah.
And we're already incarcerating those people. So all of this stuff, this whole we're not tough enough on crime, this Nixonian idea, this dog whistle politics, is just totally counterproductive and anti-American. And that's why 27% of Americans, according to a Bloomberg poll, believe that Donald Trump will last the full 4 years. That's it.
That's it. 27%. And that's Rasmussen?
I believe that was a Bloomberg poll.
Was that Bloomberg? Okay.
But just 27, and that's there's other polls that have a similar number attached to this to the question, do you think he's going to last 4 years? And so 6 months in, and who the heck knows what else is going to happen within these next couple of months, and we'll just see where this administration goes. And the American people, they want rational leadership, and neither side has given it to us, and we got to figure something out by 2018. Otherwise, we're going to be in dire straits.
Yeah, who knows if he's going to be lasting the entire 4 years, but just as long as he still gets to play a round of golf every 5.5 days like he's doing now, then maybe he will last. Maybe he will decide that it's good for him.
Yeah, getting good with his backswing, I suppose. All right. Well, I think that's basically it. I'm sure we've missed something here or there. There's so much stuff.
It just happens. It's just so much.
It's so much.
Every day.
So get out there, be active. You can change everything in your local communities. That's where it all starts. And we'll just have to start getting people in politics at a local level to slowly change the tide. It's tough to change directions on a huge ship, and there's no denying the U.S. government's a massive ship. But we got to slowly start doing it with people who are just normal individuals who have the best interest of their neighbors in mind, as opposed to these maniacs who go to Washington and just talk to the lobbyists. And I mean, that's the other thing with this health care bill. It's just like Obamacare, it's just such a money grab. $800 billion. That's what the healthcare industry made under Obamacare.
Yeah.
And they're going to make the exact same, or not, if not more, when it comes to this. So,
remember, we're not saying Obamacare is great.
It has to be fixed. Everyone agrees it has to be fixed.
Everyone knows it has to be fixed. And now Donald Trump is saying, let it fail.
Oh, it's horrible.
How's that going to help us?
Exactly.
How's that going to help any American?
How does that? We're Americans. I don't want a president who's just like, let it go, let it. It's like, I'm not your social experiment.
Yeah.
Fix the goddamn thing. Do what you're supposed to do. These are real lives attached to these policies, and you just get the feeling they're totally detached from that idea.
They don't care.
It's unbelievable. Let it fail. I mean, that is just ridiculous. I mean, I agree. I actually don't. I don't like the employer mandate when it comes to Obamacare. We can address that issue. Sure, we need people to have options in their small towns. They're just oftentimes you can't. It doesn't matter if you have universal health care if there's no health care to choose from. So we have to fix that problem. There's so many problems, but getting rid of pre-existing condition coverage isn't one of them. And at the end of the day, the Republican plan saying it's not a mandate, it is a mandate because there's a 30% tax on people who don't get health care after I believe it's 2 months. So it is what it is. Anyway, a lot of things to talk about. We'll keep talking about it right here on Abel Against Top Hat. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Go to iTunes and rate and review us. We've been crushing it. We've been crushing iTunes for a couple of years now.
We've been doing okay.
We do okay. We do okay. And then let's see. Anything else, Marcus?
I think that's it, man. Follow us on all the social media shit.
Yes.
At Marcus Parks, at Ben Kissel.
That's right. And you can find me on Instagram at Ben Kissel1. I'm doing that a little bit more. Mm-hmm. That's fun.
Yeah, I'm doing so.
Do a little bit. All right, everyone. I will talk to you soon. I'll give a hail yourselves because I feel like we want to do a hail yourselves.
Sure.
All right, everyone. Talk to you soon.
For more shows like the one you just listened to, go to cavecomedyradio.com.